allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, fellow selectmen, do you have a chance to look at the minutes of the regular meeting? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes of June 27th.
We approve the second minutes meeting, 30 minutes.
And I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And also the non-public meeting that we have a sealed meeting minutes, so I assume we just have to again make a motion to keep them sealed.
Mhm.
And I'll make a motion to approve those sealed minutes of June 27th. Any second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. And we want to sign this too, right?
It just, what we do on these is we initial it on
Yeah,
that.
on the back. Okay. Minutes. Okay, is that one?
Get some hot wax out.
I know, right? It's some
We'll
scotch
sign that
tape.
one too.
Yeah.
There. Minutes we just approved. Okay, next on the agenda is the fire station update.
Is anyone just a peek? Anyone here? There.
Chief Henry?
Pictures.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Crayons? Yeah, I might have sent you emails of it. That's just a hard copy.
Thanks.
I don't know if everything was in the email, because I know I added bond prices in there. So, that is the proposed packet, and I say proposed, it's still under construction. Julie's gonna help me tidy it up and figure out what to put on the website and how to put it on and all that good stuff. So that's not done yet, but that's what I put together that I thought we should do, which we can do whatever, we can add, delete. So that's still being worked on. Second item, location. So back in June, in my notes, the fire department's recommendation at that time was we were still committed to the existing location, but we had decided to study. We started studying before June, but in the official discussion in June, we were working on studying the alternate location, re-examining it, all that, which I've spent a lot of time on, updated you throughout the month. And it's looking like, at least, I'm kind of curious, we talked about it at the last meeting, but I never got official words from you three. And only talked to Frank after the meeting or other times, but if that is you guys' thoughts on a location.
I personally think that the tennis courts, if the station fits, would be a great location for several reasons, and I think you covered them here. The lower cost certainly for the site work is very attractive. We lose the parking there, but we can gain it in some other places and concentrate more on, improving what we have. And that's part of what the facilities committee should keep working on. The other thing is you still have the use of the old building and whatever you can make out of that without even spending any money and using the part that's still usable. So it's not going to be ADA compliant, it's not up to code, same things as it already isn't, but if it still serves the purpose of storing the police vehicles there and Kevin's office or whatever, I still think there's a great use for that space. So we gain that And those are I think the biggest pros for me as far as that alternate site. Again, you talk about it too, though, as far as growth. I don't know if maybe I'm being short-sighted, but I don't see the town growing that much in size to where we're going to need to grow our fire department vehicles more than what we have. Now, maybe I'm, like I said, short-sighted, but we have a pretty good fleet.
Yeah, and as far as, I've thought a lot about trying to figure out growth down the road, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and I definitely don't see us having more trucks, for sure. The proposed new station, if it happens, is 1,000+ feet bigger than what we have. So I don't propose this up for the fire department use. I don't see a drastic change in growth for a long time.
And I think that even if you're looking at 8,000 versus 7,000 feet, 8,000 usable feet, I mean, this is an efficient building versus what you have now, which, the upstairs is a huge space that could be used for a lot more different things if it were used efficiently. So I think the space over there looks more attractive. That's my opinion.
Next.
Running this meeting. Next. Bob, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I have to say I concur with most of what Barb's already shared. I think there's a piece of a document that you also have that isn't in the packet. It's not about a new fire station, it's about a renovated fire station. And we, as the liaison, I've worked with Jay since I've come on board, and we're looking at somewhere around a $1.9 million renovation upgrade if we don't build new. And so to take a look at that existing facility still being capped at 6,800 square feet on 2 floors versus a new facility at 8,000 square feet, it really puts into perspective for the people in the town just what their choices are. It's the fire station's turn, it's the fire station's time, and we're either going to throw 7 figures at a renovation or 7 figures at a new construction site with a lifespan of 50 years versus a renovation that we know can last 10 to 15 years. So where's the best bang for the buck? And so that's number one. And then as far as the location, I don't have a lot of confidence in the contingency amount in the budget for staying at the same location. When you're moving a septic, when you're moving a road, when you're demolishing and replacing a station, I think that's all just right for draining contingency. And it can happen anywhere, don't get me wrong, but I think that site over there is a lot cleaner to start with and less unknowns and less questions. I mean, talk to any builder, right? The minute they are renovating a project and they tear down the wall, there's the mold, there's the this, there's the that, there's the rotten wood, there's all kinds of things. And just what are we going to find when we try and relocate a septic system? What are we going to find when we try and relocate an access road? What's under that road bed? What kind of shape is it in? Now we need more fill, now we need more, lots of things. And I don't have the confidence that we're covered with the contingency amount in here, number one, to stay at that location. But those are just my immediate responses. And of course, I've seen this for several months now, and I'm familiar with it. So those are the things I want to bring up and share. And I don't even know what the demolition cost is in here. Maybe it's included in design engineering, or maybe it's included, I don't know, maybe it's part of the demolition is $50,000. Really? Okay. So I guess that's the number I looked at and said, oh my goodness, there's part of our contingency right there just for a tear down. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely some contingency to that to change.
Right, absolutely. But no, I like the work you've done. I think you presented us with some reasonable options here, and but the one document that I've seen that is really looking at like a $1.9 million to $2 million renovation project is the one that really sells me that on what needs to be done here to bring our 1947 fire station up to 2024 standards in this town. And just as we got done with a Bartlett Jackson quarterly ambulance quarterly meeting, I mean, there's really nothing that's a higher priority, I don't believe, for us than life safety issues in this town. I mean, we turned around and pushed hard to get a Forest Service to build a parking lot because we had life safety issues to access the house in this town. Roads are life safety issues. I mean, those are the things that we are here for. There's still tons of work to lock into. How are we going to fund this? What are the grant opportunities? What are the loan opportunities? What are the bonding opportunities? You know, all of that. But I mean, it's hard for me to imagine a new station that's smaller, that's going to meet our needs. It's hard for me to imagine a site here in town that would be more efficient and effective for a new station to exist in. And, you know, I'm not even taking into, you know, account that, you know, there's a building there that maybe has use and value, who knows. But for now, those are my thoughts, and that's my input on what we've got in front of us today. And thanks for that, for putting this all together. So I see a new station being relocated down in the tennis court parking lot, and that's what I would recommend based on what I know today.
And I think I've told you that, and what Barbara said, and Bob says, that if we're going to build a new station, I think the tennis courts is the best spot for it for a couple of reasons. The money, obviously, it's a little bit less, okay? It's a good location. We'll still have the building over there that could be used for other uses, because we do have a police department that could probably use a little more space. And I'm sure we'll be able to get people in there and use it for something. And also, we wouldn't be interrupting a business, Ravenwood, that's right there on the side. That would be terrible, you know, just that whole construction thing going on there, if that would happen, okay? But again, for me, it's an if. And to see if folks, because the bill is, you know, we're going to be giving a list of numbers. It's going to show what it's going to cost for 20 years, how much it's going to be, the hit's going to be on a tax rate, all of that's very important. But it sounds to me that, again, putting the if we were to go anywhere, if we're going to build new, I think you've got the three of us saying over there at the tennis courts.
Right.
Good.
All right.
That's what I'm looking for. So today, the fire members that have been working on most of the fire stuff with me today, we met at noontime, and we agreed that that is, you know, the recommended spot and direction we go at this time. Correct. You got anything to add, Pete? Bill?
Yeah, Pete, really briefly, that's all right. We're going to work on a rollout plan for PR and information between having sessions at the fire station, doing a general public information session. So that'll be in the fall, September, October, November. But you know, I think it's really important that once we collectively, and I don't mean just the fire department, I think we want to at least query the former committee members, everybody, inform them and ask them about the site and about, their thoughts. But it's really important for us as a community at large, I think led by the selectmen and the fire department to be behind this. Because if we're not gonna get behind it, it's not gonna go. I mean, it's a big, even a renovation is a big ask. Anything we ask is a big ask. So, but like the last time, the way I see it is once we do something, once we do one thing, a lot of other things can fall into place. The last time it was we took down the old barn and moved into a library, we built a community center, the historical society renovated. All things happened sequentially because we started to do something. But I think it's really important that both the fire department and the select board and even the planning board get behind this, because it's not the fire department's firehouse. It's the town's building, and I think it's really important for us to remind ourselves of that. It's a need, but it's also going to be a lot of work down the road for all of us, but everybody's got to get behind it for it to happen.
I think we keep talking about all of these dollars, and we keep coming back to the one thing that we need to have that's not in here, and that's the tax impact. And Bob mentioned it too. So we have that.
Back page.
Hmm?
Back page.
No.
Is this based on all those bond numbers?
Yeah, the bond, I know I have that. Yep, perfect.
Did you
So,
get one, Frank?
I think that's something, this is, nice, pretty small print of the bond rates, but I would rather see something that said, if you have a house worth, or, here's how to calculate it.
Right.
Make it so simple and foolproof that somebody says, I can go to my tax bill, look at my assessed value, take this increase of 94 cents, whatever, based on, and say that my taxes would go up X dollars per year if I vote for this. And I think it has to be put into that simplified terms that anyone can see what that impact would be to their dollar. Because it all looks pretty and the numbers are scary when you look at 7 figures to anyone. So I want to know how it's going to affect my pocketbook. So I think we can come up with an easy formula that says, if you love this and you back it, then that's what it's going to cost. So I don't want to send that to people. That
No.
They shouldn't have to do the math that way.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
But
that should be a big part.
Julie has
But we
given me
did-
a copy, so I passed it on to
Yeah.
you guys. Now, a good quick, should we not put that on the website? Or do something different?
I would do something different that's much more simplified.
All right, I'm gonna
It
do
says
that.
if you go to the last page that has, not the last
Can we
page,
do
but
that
the,
up, you guys?
yeah.
We can figure.
Yeah, we can figure that out, and then that way it gives somebody an
You'll see
easy
that.
formula on how to calculate.
First year tax hit.
Yeah.
Second year tax hit, all the way
Yeah.
down to 20 years, so we know what this is going to cost.
Yeah,
So I had asked Jerry to come because as a past committee member for the original committee, I was kind of curious. I knew we were going to talk about locations, so you got any thoughts or?
Yeah, I was just reflecting on that, and the committee, we worked, it took us months to kind of choose that as kind of a landing spot for the building, and it never solved any of the problems that me trying to figure out between that spot over there and that spot over there go away. In other words, the septic issue, the rainwood issue, and we're always never really kind of found a spot, well, it should go right here. Still didn't know. And by placing the building over there and working on that as the idea, I think that solves the problem of what that area over there has, which is like, we're not gonna solve those problems. Like Bob said, like, trying to move a septic, it's like, maybe it's gonna cost 400,000, maybe it's gonna cost 700,000. It's just, we can eat up your contingency. I think it's just harder to plan over there when there's so many things wrong with that spot. So I think that solves a lot of the problems of that area. So I think it's a really intelligent move to kind of be looking at that spot and focusing it there. That's really all I would say about that, I guess. Moving it forward, I think that the select board would probably be really wise to have a subcommittee that would be kind of looking more at trying to figure out the actual costs of this thing. Not the effect of the taxpayer, but what's it actually going to cost. And what I would want to see in that number on the warrant would be engineering costs. Meaning that we don't have the money in town now to kind of hire an engineer to figure out the building's going to cost exactly this. But if you had a subcommittee that's working on that, Because how's this project going to go out to bid eventually? If it gets passed and we want to do this, and it's actually going to get done someday. And Bill will be able to talk about this a lot, really, is how are we going to put this project out to bid if it does get supported by the town and we're going to do this. If you plan for that up front, meaning like we have $400,000 in the bond in order to really do the engineering on the building, so that when you put it out to bid, become a project manager, that person's going to know exactly what this building should cost and what the building is going to look like exactly when it's done. If you have that ability to know that before you put it out to bid, I think you can be a lot more effective in the bidding process, though. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Like, I think the next committee to look at designing the building, but I think it should also be a different committee that's looking specifically at how are we going to, maybe you already got it there.
Wait, Billy. I wanted to ask Jay a question. You know, I asked you about, you know, how firm are these numbers? And you,
I'm pretty happy with the numbers I've gotten. As we talked about the last meeting, you know, Richie, who built North Conway, built Twin Mountain, he's built 5 of them in 7 years. I actually double checked with him after the last meeting we had, and he was pretty happy with the numbers he gave me. So I'm pretty confident those numbers are doable. You know, now what happens between now and, you know, this time next year,
right?
you know, we may have to add an inflation number there. But I'm pretty happy with the numbers we've got for today. I've gone over it multiple times. You know, like I said, it doesn't get any better than John Ritchie giving me a price when he's building one right now, and he's, you know, built 5 of them here in the last 7 years. It's about as good as you're gonna get, I think.
Okay. Jerry, does that?
Yeah, so this one, he's like 150,000. I don't know if that's enough. Maybe it is.
Those numbers, I went over with Mike Conchard, doing it the exact same way we did the highway garage.
Perfect. Like,
Line by
I'm not
line.
qualified to know that, so I'm saying, if you think you're comfortable with that.
Line by line with Mike Conchard, doing it the exact same way. You know how you, me, Burr, Phil, we all kind of were the clerk of the works, and we all handled doing it that same way. Rather than, it gets pretty expensive if you hire a clerk of the works, like North Conway did.
Yeah.
It adds a whole nother level of money to it.
Right.
So you can keep that. So that's where that number came from, Jerry.
And that's all it says. If you guys are already thinking along those lines and got that, or covered this, sure.
Billy?
Yeah, I just, Jerry, it makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I'm speaking on my 48 years of being involved in the building industry, both a lot of commercial stuff, Rishi Construction, I know them quite well from past history. There's a bunch of builders out there that in the state or New England could do this project. But if you want to do a little survey, Jay's done a ton of work, and there's been 3 or 4 of the other fire department members that have supported and worked with us in the last year and a half. My feeling is if the town, we do a little bit of history on general contractors, what have you, but if the town decides we could do this project as our own general contractor, I know that's scary to say, but and do it almost as if it were a design-build type project. And you've got firm, not to exceed numbers from a very reputable contractor and work with the engineers on heating, cooling, all of those things up front, which, you know, it would have to be done. And I know there's some people here that would jump onto that and make sure we get a good bang for a buck. You'll get a lot better building for a lot less money than if you put a complete set of specifications out there and bid process. I would strongly urge the selectmen to consider that. The other thing, in a year and a half, I've talked to as many people as I could, just very informally, and I can't help but think that the by far and largest people I've talked to in almost a year and a half since the decision was made that let's hold off and make a real good decision instead of going forward. Support a fire station, something being done, because they've seen what we have and what, you know, if you want to talk square footage, an 8,000 square foot first floor usable building, and if you look at the usable space on the first floor of this building, you got 4,000. So it makes no sense to try to compare the spaces. But they're all in favor of saying something has to be done. 3 categories out of the 5 categories that the last feasibility study committee did and presented to in a body. It was listed on the top ends. The fire station was very important. I think you all realize, and I know at least 2 of you said we got to do something. I think the time is to do it. And all the builders that I've been able to see in my travel selling dirt, the costs went substantially up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they stayed up. Are they still going up? They've stabled off quite a lot. The bigger problem is time. And a good example, I have it from a very first-hand source while I was sitting there looking at a brand new market basket. It's because the switching system here to control all the power for all of everything is a year and a half waiting, and they're not going to see that till maybe October. And a new project that's just going to start, site work is going to start, well, actually started, the Tractor Supply, they were told 8 months for that kind of stuff. So the quicker we make a decision to go forward, I think the better will be to help pull costs down and do a good project. And I want to, you know, I'm more than willing to give what I know. If we all band together as a town. The last thing I want to say, I know it's time here. The one comment that I have heard, and I think Pete kind of highlighted it, the whole fire department is very much in favor of something done. They all work in a space that's just way outgrown its needs. A lot of things that are a real problem to do over there, they're all in favor. There's only 3 or 4 of us that have really dedicated a lot of time to help Che spend a ton of time on keeping this project going forward off the record, so to speak. But I want to remind on record for the people to see, this is a building that's owned by the town of Jackson. It houses the fire department. It's a town facility that would last the town for a long time and be able to do a lot of benefits. And the other nice thing, listening to the ambulance comments that Jim Boston made, we would have a building that is totally life safety, you know, minded, ADA compliance, that could have offer facilities. God, you could move the equipment out for the day and have a town meeting in that facility and have more space than you have in the waiting. So there's a lot of uses that a new building could add to going forward that we don't have. That's, I think, for you to take all those things into consideration.
And the design and build process you're describing, isn't that pretty much how the town garage was built?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I talked to John Ritchie about. Kind of said the same thing. He says, you know, design build is the most efficient, affordable way to go with a set maximum high amount, you know, this won't exceed. So that, what Bill had mentioned was exactly what I talked to John about. Couple quick items and then I'm done. And get out of your hair. Like Pete said, we do have open house dates being planned and the mail is going out soon. Number 2, I did just read at 3 o'clock, I sent out an email to past committee members that might not know what progress we made or direction we've gone recently. So that's gone out. Emily sent an email out on the funding option with the low interest FDA that I think you guys just got like maybe at 1:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
So because you had asked about that for
Yeah.
Emily, and I think there's something there, a website or something that you have to look at.
Yeah.
The last thing I got in this, I think it's a question for Barbara. The contract between the town and Sam and Delia for the $20,000 study. Do you have that, a copy of that?
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
We've got to look at that. I'm curious if we own this
Okay, got it,
and what the contract says.
okay.
Because if we move forward with somebody other than Sam and Delia, do we own this? I
Okay.
guess what, you know, we've got 2 pages of that picture and a layout of the floor plan.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
we kind of need to figure that out.
okay.
Oh, here we go, sorry.
So, yeah, we do.
That's what I would
we do
assume.
own that.
I would assume that, but
That's not complete architectural plans, we own,
No.
we own those 8 cases, that's for
that's
us to use.
what I assume. I just want to confirm that there's not some weird wording in the
No,
contract.
that's what the contract was saying, that we do,
Oh,
we do
okay.
own that, so you might, you should definitely check it, but I certainly remember that that's the case.
Okay,
Because we asked them, I think, whoever did it, Bill did.
yeah.
That's all I have.
Peter?
Just a point of clarification to add on to what the chief said. The mailer that's going out will be subject to us allocating the money from the Firefighters Association, and we'll make that request and vote on it tonight. It'll cost us somewhere between $800 and $1,000 to put the mailer out, so
Great.
the association's gonna cover that cost, if it's voted on, in the affirmative.
I think the only other thing that Jay and I have discussed in our liaison meetings between our selectmen's meetings is that I feel, and he kind of alluded to it a little bit, it feels like it's time to bring that committee together, share where we're at with this, gauge interest, it seems like a real great diversified group that is an asset to this work, and so and how do we do that? And so if either one of you have any input on that, do we bring them to the next meeting and have a meeting before our meeting with the firehouse building committee, or do we just convene that and have it meet separately? And should it be Barb on that committee if it's not a public meeting held here because she was involved in that meeting? Or, and how does that look in anybody's mind here to give some direction to them on bringing that group together? Because they spent a lot of time together.
I sent an email to Hank and Devin, they're the only
Yeah,
2 that
that's
really
what I was
doesn't, and I knew Jerry was going to get updated today.
Yeah,
I sent it to them because they're really the only 2 that, I actually talked to Devin recently.
yeah,
I went up and saw Hank today, but he wasn't there, so he might be out of town.
and that's Hank Dresch, just
Yeah,
for
so
the
those are
minutes.
the only 2 that
Yeah.
really don't know the progress.
Mhm.
Other than, you do, and I do, and Billy does, and Peter does, and
Why don't you two discuss this offline and figure out what you want to do? Because like you said, most of the committee members are here, and maybe we can just regurgitate all of our notes and bring that
Okay.
back to life.
I sent him an email, so we'll see what
Yeah,
kind of time
and
they
then,
have.
you know, the thing is, if it is me and you, Bob, then all the meetings, we started making them public anyway, so.
Well, I trust in this price. You reiterated that more
Yeah.
than once. It's a solid price, okay?
Today.
And I also trust that you guys did a lot of work to make sure that it had everything you needed to be a good, safe fire department and do all the things that you need to do. So our last job is, how much is it gonna cost? So that we can present that to the people. It sounds like the 3 selectmen here are saying, this is as good as it gets right here. You guys did a lot of work, we're gonna go for it. I'm not endorsing it, I'm saying I want the people to get a chance to vote for it, okay? So let's give them some numbers, right? A little flesh on the bones, and we'll see what happens when town meeting comes. Obviously, in between that time, we'll be talking about it. There'll be minutes, there'll be maybe letters to the editor, whatever, as we move there, all right? But we have a good firm basis for what we're looking for now, and we're gonna just find out what it's gonna cost, and we're gonna know.
I probably won't be here for the next meeting, so whether you need this on the agenda or not, it's up to you.
We will try.
But I won't be here.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to kind of like figure out if we're settled on is the location, because because that eliminates coming up with two set of numbers,
Mhm.
because we're looking at two very different projects depending on where we locate it. So do we need to make a motion here today to choose the site that we want to move forward exploring? And a motion with a second, and then move forward that way, and it seems like
Let's do it.
you guys are feeling that, so I'm gonna make a motion that we look to put the new construction over on the site just past the library, the old tennis court.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right?
And I just, again, like to add to that, you know, we'll get the numbers, we'll get that out there for everybody to see, and we'll see what happens, you know.
Probably should have.
2/3 vote, right?
Would have been maybe
66
at this point, you're proposing, you're really not
No,
deciding, you're proposing.
this is advocating to
This
get
would
it
be-
on the warrant, right, and let the entire town.
Let the
decide.
town, let the town.
All right, now, the last time, it was
They say yes or no.
it was 5.7 million, and some people, including yourself, were upset that we voted 2-1 against it. But since then, you backed off of that and saying, you know, maybe it was a little too much, a little too fast, but we know more now, and we're gonna let people know more. But I do believe that that's the best place, again, saves that building for other needs, because I'm sure we're gonna need them, and also for the little businesses there, that she could continue to do business without any big disruption, so. That's the way I see it. Any more comments, Jerry? Anybody? Great. Mr. and Mrs. You folks?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
That's that motion. Thanks for the
Thanks,
motion.
guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Next up on the agenda, where did Deidre go?
She left.
She left. She had a call. Okay, well, suppose we can, she's going to be, we're going to nominate her as our health officer, or she can be the deputy? The deputy health officer. You're our number one guy, right? Deidre Braun, she works with the fire department, we all know her. And I'm sure you recommend her as being your assistant?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So, does somebody want to make a
I will make a
motion?
motion to nominate Deirdre Braun as the deputy health official.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Deirdre.
And you have to reappoint Kevin, because his,
Oh,
yes, because he's
he's up. You're up.
3 years is
I'll make a motion to reappoint Kevin Bennett as the health officer.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're in again.
We didn't give you a chance to say no.
You're in. You don't get that, right? All right, we have an assessment and appeal, our assessor appeal, looked at an appeal over a piece of property, and he basically said that our assessment is the proper assessment, and they should not get there should not be an abatement on this particular property. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I did read the Jason's information,
Right.
and I support his
Yeah, I mean, that's
recommendation.
what we pay these folks for, and he said this property was properly assessed for its status as of April 1st, 2022. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to recommend Jason's assessment
Assessment.
appeal review.
Okay.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bob,
All right.
this will be interesting.
Okay, so next is the Valley Crossroad Bridge. And what's happening? We've all been waiting for how many years? And we're getting closer. We have our money. We're ready, our 20%. The state, we just have to get some bids, I guess, on this thing. Design engineer is making some minor changes to the bid documents as required by the DOT. But we expect to get out a bid very soon, within a month. And it will take another 2 months to receive and review the bids and to sign the contract. Contractor will have 10 months to complete the project. So there we are. I mean, it's ongoing. The guess from Burr is that they will be doing clearing and perhaps before winter, relocate the power poles, remove the old trusses and pedestrian railing and deliver them to the restoration shop. I suspect, as he says, that the bridge will be closed for the winter. If they aren't working on the bridges over the winter and there is strong desire to keep it open, there's a possibility that I think we could pay them to install temporary Jersey barriers as guardrails and leave the bridge open. I think I'd like to see the bridge open. It seems like it's such an important part of, the way people get around, skiers in particular in the wintertime. And I'd hate to see it closed, but we certainly want to get this thing
I
done.
wonder how
It's
much
been a
it
long
would,
time.
how much it would be, how much additional cost it would be. to
He
keep it
didn't
open.
say, but he made it sound as if it's not that much.
way.
So, but otherwise, just letting everybody know where we're at with it. Is anybody feeling about that? Let me ask, do you think it should be kept open?
From the fire department's perspective, absolutely.
Okay, so
It's a primary water source for both east and west sides of town, if you will.
there's
And
one
we just
reason.
rebuilt
Fire
the
pond.
pond, so it's filled right now after all the rain. We have to see it that way. But yeah, it's our backup water source for places like Eagle Mountain House.
Okay. So that's one good major reason why we should somehow talk to Burr and find out what it might be. Julie?
Yep.
As far as those barriers are concerned, we call Jersey barriers. All right. Anything more to be said about this? Okay, what is this here? Okay, we have, this is kind of getting out of order here.
The Memorial Hospital tent.
The 10 follow-up, there's nothing in your folder for.
Oh, okay, it's just, I can make the comments on the
Okay, go ahead.
Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
We had voted to keep the tent flaps up for purposes of keeping the air moving, but found out some more information that they were gonna have amplified music. So as we wanna stay consistent, we just said if they're gonna have amplified music, the flaps have to be down. And so they changed their mind and they're not gonna have amplified
Correct.
music. They'll have the tent flaps up, no amplified music. So we're still staying consistent
Right.
with all of our wedding and other event venues. So that was all. There were many chefs in the kitchen on that one.
There always are.
Yep, that's the update on that.
Okay. The Eagle Mountain driveway, I guess, from what I'm hearing, they have hired an engineer to take care of some of the problems there. So right now, we're
Stand by.
stand by,
Yeah.
keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
Hoping it doesn't rain again for,
Yeah.
30 days,
Good luck.
So that's what it is.
or whatever. Okay. All right, trustee of the trust funds, funding and withdrawal, I forget anything, I think I'm all right here. We have Jackson Selectmen authorize a transfer of $30,500 to be deposited into the capital reserve funds in the expendable trust funds per the warrant articles listed below. Solar energy, Article 4, $15,000. In police cruiser, again, Article 4, $15,000 for a total of $30,500. Are there any questions on this or any?
I'll make a motion to make those withdrawals.
Withdrawals of 15.
15 and 50,000.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Those are the
Those are the
fundings?
fundings.
Sorry.
The fundings. That's right, this is the funding, we got the withdrawals.
Okay, I'll make a motion to make those fundings.
Okay.
Sorry, capital reserve funds.
Okay, second, okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now the next one, as part of this, is that Board of Selectmen requesting the following withdrawals from the trust funds as indicated below. $721.60 from the dry hydrant expendable trust fund for $721.60. $1,983.28 for the Balloon Groundwater Expendable Trust Fund.
Sorry, can you go, but you gotta read who, the invoice number, the date, the trustees.
You gotta have everything in
You
there?
gotta have it as
Okay, I'm trying to
written.
shortcut this.
Nope.
I'm gonna look at it. Okay, invoice number 12999, amount $721.60, dated 6/28/23, 2023, Burke Quarry LLC, okay? $1,983.28 from the Balloon Groundwater Expendable Trust Fund 0071, invoice number 30435, amount $1,983.28, dated 6/30/2023, HEB Engineers Incorporated. And lastly, $900 from the Wentworth Wildcat Fund, 0029, invoice number 427, amount $900, dated 6/28/2023, Jackson Ski Touring Foundation Incorporated.
So moved.
All those-
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And well, we have no short-term rentals to deal with right now, no permit violations, nothing like that. The only pending one is Malloy, and that's gonna be taken care of on planning board night on Thursday. Building and driveway permits, I see you've done a lot of work here, Kevin, but these are all set? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, lastly, is there any comments? Does anybody have any comments? Maybe? Sean? Any-
I was only here because I was interested in what the Eagle Mountain driveway was.
Okay.
Whether it was on Partridge, Cirrus Lane, or it was just the other side of the mountain. Just wanted to comment.
Oh, it's Eagle Mountain House, not Eagle Mountain Road.
Right.
The Eagle
Yeah.
Mountain House.
Yeah.
Not
right.
the road.
Have you driven there lately? You have to put your car in four-wheel drive to get over
Yeah.
there.
That's
That
right.
runoff?
That's
No,
what
I'm
we're-
kidding.
They are trying.
They
Okay.
are.
We hope. All right.
It's a
Well,
lot of sand.
upcoming meetings for the selectmen. Let's see, Tuesday, July 25th at 3:30, and then again Tuesday, August 8th at 3:30, and then Tuesday, August 22nd at 3:30. I guess I jumped the gun on the public comments, because that's where we're at right now, so. I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jerry.